Later.
Did you just want to withdraw the on the German?
We acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. And we'll move on to number 4, adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor? Thank you. Receipt of the minutes.
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor? We have no delegations, which is probably a good thing because they would have been 10 minutes late. Number 7, staff report 7.1, commission report dated September 4th, 2024 from Carrie Gleaner, Regional Park Manager, Parks Operational Report, Waterloo County Regional Park Restoration Project has been received. And I assume, Carrie, that you're going to talk to us about it.
Yeah, through the chair, I can just, so hopefully everyone's had a little bit of time to kind of go over it. And I just wanted to report out because it's just one of the many things that we're doing. And, I just think it's a good opportunity now to give a little bit of explanation and make sure that the commission understands kind of what we're doing and what we're working towards. And it does fit in a little bit to the last meeting, and I'm sorry I wasn't on it, just discussing Waterloo Eddy and some of the damage that was done and the vandalism. So yeah, it's been sort of, we had our management plan in 2015. And, we've slowly been working towards different phased approaches to meet, what we had said that we're going to do in the management plan. One of the things that we had always said is we're going to work on a restoration plan. Part of that first was to, try to minimize and reduce the amount of, to eventually eliminate the motorized use within the park. So, we have been working on that for, a number of years, trying to do it a little bit slowly so it gives people a chance to adjust to some of the things that we're doing. In about 2017, I started working with the Columbia Basin Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program, asking them whether or not there'd be an opportunity in the future to work together on, restoration work within the eddy and within the wetlands. Further to that, some discussions started with the Okanagan Nation when we'd been doing some work around Pass Creek. And, they had said at the time, okay, we'll start maybe, looking at some grant funding and how we can move forward in the future. In about 2020, the Okanagan Nation started working with the Columbia Basin Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program, discussing some, restoration work at Waterloo Eddy. And really it was in about 2022 that I started meeting on site with members of the Okanagan Nation and staff to say, hey, how do we, potentially move forward with this? We came up with a little bit of a plan, and then they started looking for fundraising. And then we, in 2024, had put into the financial plan. Actually, we had it in 2023, to be honest, and we'd carried some over to 2024, looking at contributing to, a project where we could work together and do some of this restoration. So it's being led by the Okanagan Nation, by their staff and biologists, obviously with myself involved, working closely in looking at, what our overall goals were, how do we achieve them. And, they came up with a proposal that I added as part of the addendum. And with that, we really did start to kind of narrow down on a bit more specifics. I had another meeting just today, actually, to follow up a little bit more with this and make it less of a draft. So we're getting closer. The only thing that would really be a little bit different that you might see in once you kind of get down to something that we'd call the forest enhancement. One of my concerns, and a concern that we had, is within the management plan. We do know, and from an archaeological assessment that was done in 2007 by Wayne Choquette, that there is a potential site someplace in the vicinity of the back area of our park. And we didn't really know where that was exactly from the description. So we'd kind of put that off as a special feature in some place that we wouldn't go into. So it's something that we adjusted in the plan to make sure that we were staying out of that area for some of that. And as well, there's an opportunity that we can have the Okanagan Nation, kind of come in and maybe do a little bit more observation into this sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's one of those really good partnerships. Again, part of our board strategic plans with these things, and a great opportunity again to get some of this work in partnership, reduce a little bit of our taxation, on these projects. And I think in Parks in general has done a really good job in the past of working hard to get grant funding, to get other aspects, so that, as everybody knows, Parks is something that we don't have user fees for and charge money to. So, generally this is our way of working in partnerships to do that. So, so the goal is to start sometime. We're working on we don't really have yet in the regional district a good sort of way of contract or agreements that are more of a partnership or contribution agreements. So we are working through this as a service agreement, just with this draft understanding that, that this is the goal that we're working towards, a bit of a partnership, and that the Okanagan Nation will be bringing in the majority of the funds and will be contributing, up to our $20,000 towards the project. So, so that's kind of where we're at with this. And we are going to have, I've just talked to Alicia today, and so part of it was CKIS and Fortis coming in and basically having an outreach day where it would be a weed pull, get something out to the community, come down to the park, take a look. This is what we're hoping to do. This is where the restoration area is, why we're looking at closing off some of this motorized, and hopefully get the public a little bit more involved, the community involved, so that they know what's going on. Sarah will be instrumental in, providing and helping us with a communication plan, getting this out prior to the work starting. And just thought I wanted to bring this to the commission now while we're still in this last phase. So don't know if there's any questions or comments.
Commissioner Henniger, I saw your hand.
So I'm going like this. Hi, Carrie, thanks. I'm really just taking advantage of the fact that you're here. Whose responsibility is the parking lot at the Eddy?
Yeah, so that is an MOTI unmaintained road right away. It's sort of because it accesses both the park, it accesses Fortis in the back, but also Techland. So it's a road right away. Our property that we purchased back in 2019, I think, which was lot 6, does butt up against the one side, which is where we put the fence line and the parking. But everything basically beyond, in front of that parking area is all road right away.
But the parking lot itself I don't know when you were last in there, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to rip the undercarriage of your vehicle. I'm going to say that. Yeah, it's just, and it, these things don't get better over time. They only get worse, right? And so I'm just wondering, is there a plan to do something about that? Because it's really not very good.
Yeah, through the chair, that is something that I'll talk with MOTI about. To be honest, I've been a little bit afraid of doing anything at this moment due to the, as you know, bit of the controversy with the Udishenia Water District, in the sense that if we do anything, I don't want to be, basically us being responsible for something and saying that, well, you did this and you're responsible for something. So I've been awaiting some direction on that a little bit to find out what the outcome is. And but yes, the answer is yes. We can talk to MOTI and look to say, will they give us permission to do a little bit of work in there?
Okay, good, because the OID, just to let you know, has asked for money to fix the fire hydrant problem there, which I support. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying, if you're going to be in there digging and whatnot anyway, let's use that as an opportunity to deal with the parking lot at the same time.
Through the chair, absolutely agree. If there's a way we can partner on that, happy to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
I love that part.
Thanks, Carrie. Look forward to seeing the project come to fruition. So thank you for that.
Thank you through the chair.
All right, 7.2, financial plan amendment, commission report dated September 3rd, 2024. Craig Stanley, regional manager, operations and asset management. 3, the 2024 financial plan amendment has been received. I think I'll read the recommendation before you kind of give us a background on it. The recommendation of the board approve an amendment to the 2024 financial plan for Castlegar and District Community Facilities, Recreation, Parks and Leisure Service, Castlegar in areas I and J S22 to include a decrease of $137,450 in capital expenditures and an increase of $15,450 in operating expenditures and a decrease of $122,000 in transfers from reserve and trade.
Thank you through the chair. The arena roof project tender came in under budget and we reported that, and board resolution supported that. And working with project management and the consultants, the overall budget we're estimating at $506,000 on a budget of $840. So we've got some surplus of about $330,000, and we had told this commission that we'd come back with a financial plan amendment. So a couple of the items that we've identified that weren't, they were identified in previous capital and asset management plans, but not approved in this year's budget, include the overhead door at the east side of the arena is uninsulated and in poor shape. So we're looking at replacing that as well. All of the man doors on the east side of the arena are poorly insulated. The door jambs are in bad shape, and so we're looking at replacing those. We do have preliminary quotes for those, and then with contingency and project management costs, we're looking at $100,000 to get that done, and we can hopefully get that work done if approved before the end of the year. And then the other project that is scheduled for next year, but that we didn't approve in the budget for this year, was the roof insulation project. And we have retained or can retain the consultants that are working on the arena roof project to design the insulation scope and put that out, do an issues for tender set, and then and in that table that, you know, with project management costs and the consulting costs, we're looking at $96,000 to get that issued for tender for early January, so that then we can get that awarded earlier in the year and have the work done, so that we're not in sort of like trying to get a contract awarded mid-season, mid-construction season. And then two other asset management items that have come up, radon mitigation. So in one of the back offices, the air moves really slowly, and our radon testers found that there were occasions when the limits were exceeded for safe occupancy of the office, and so we've installed ducting in the fan, and we could use some of that surplus to offset that cost at $6,500. And we had a hose leak on the roof, and that water had leaked into actually right on the fire alarm panel, and so we're looking at replacing the fire alarm panel for $8,950. And so the key things to note with this is that the $203,000 out of the transfer from reserves, we had originally budgeted $325. The $203 was from the Growing Communities Fund, and so we have to spend that part of the roof. So that's where we had adjusted or amended the financial plan so that it recognized that $203,000 stayed in the transfer from reserves. And so everything on the chart that I listed in the analysis shows the balance of the projects and the amended number, and everything zeroes out. So those are the values that are reflected in the amended budget request.
Great.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Eaton.
Yeah, I agree with all these things. Like, our whole mandate is get maintenance and capital projects up to snuff, but we have extra money from this year's budget. It was deemed to go to capital stuff anyway, so I'm for this. And you know, the radon mitigation and the fire alarm, those have to be fixed. So I'm good with this, and we still have some money that goes back into reserves, so we're further ahead than we were for next year, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, so Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Davis. Yeah.
So through the chair, with the staff, will this help us with having less to do in our 2025 financial plan, or is there still so much work to be done that this will help us a little bit?
Yeah, through the chair, two things, or three things, or yes, the arena doors, that was, I don't know if that was off the top of my head, I can't remember if we're doing all of those next year or some of them in 2026, but those getting done this year will offset future needs. As well, the arena insulation engineering and design, that would be scheduled for next year. Plus, we're also reducing the transfer from reserves of 122,000. So that staying in reserve will allow us to do more work in the future.
Thank you.
I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second the recommendation.
All right. There's no other questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for a report that was easy to read. We appreciate it. And a font that it's just, I can see it. It's great.
Probably lost track.
Yeah.
Probably in trouble.
All right. So, new business, 8.1. I actually asked for this to be included on the agenda. The Commission discussed the Wall of Fame at the Castlegar District Community Complex and the process of which people are included. This information actually stems from our reimagining the Bob Branson pool with the new park there. The City of Castlegar hired Greg Nesroff to do some research, and one of the things that he came up with was a large history of the Castlegar Aquanauts, as well as different individual athletes, including one who in 1980 competed at what was then called the Olympics for the disabled games, but we would call it the Paralympics now, and won 4 gold medals. 3 were uncontested, but she did set a record in one of them, swimming by herself, and also won gold in a contested 4x100 team relay. Woman's name is Cheryl Christensen. She was 16 years old at the time, and Greg expressed surprise why there was no recognition. And he included some old newspaper articles and stuff that when she came home from Paris, where the games were, she was actually met by a delegation from the city. So I just wanted to know how the Wall of Fame, like what's the procedure? How does someone get consideration for being in it, or on it, I should say?
So what's a policy? Is it a policy?
Is there a policy or?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Okay, the chair. I think that we could absolutely find out.
Yeah.
She should be on it, let's just say.
Yeah, let's just say.
This question is really threefold, because I personally think that Cheryl should be on it. Greg thinks her mother still was out at 6 Mile near Nelson. And the Aquanauts history is a rich thing. They were the best swim club in the West Kootenay, or in the Kootenays, and they had the smallest pool. And as well, a longtime coach, Tom Crew, just recently passed away. So that was all things that Greg and I discussed. So if we could get that information back to us and then find what the process is, and then we can sort of move forward with that and just see where we want to go. Because I think it's something that was neglected and we should be ready for that statement.
So Chair,
Any other comments?
comment.
Okay, Sue was ahead of you, Andy, sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay.
So yeah, it'd be good to know if we have a policy or procedure on that. And if we don't, we need to develop one so it's fair for anybody, because a few years ago there was some conflict about.
We don't talk about that.
So we just need to have it written down, and so that when these things come, that who's ever on, or who gets to decide who's on, and I would think it's the Rec Commission decides who gets on the Wall of Fame.
Commissioner David Up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the commission has addressed this issue. Staff has done a great deal of work on this topic. So maybe there are staff has its role. So it's too bad Joe's not here because he would definitely remember what we addressed, when we addressed it. So basically, this work's been done, and yeah. So it's yeah. We just need the staff to find what we did with it.
Yeah,
Commissioner Sheen.
from what I did a little investigating, from what I heard, it's not really a policy or procedure. It was just around the table, you guys had a conversation, so it would be nice to have something written, so it's always there. And there's some criteria of how those people get selected.
Commissioner Henry. For the first time.
I was giving her a time. So can we ask staff to bring whatever policy there is to the next meeting and get it to us with the agenda so that we can have a look at it and possibly have feedback for our meeting October 1st?
Yes, yeah, through the chair, my guess is Joe had planned to talk about it today and was unexpectedly not able to be there, so yeah, we can definitely do that.
Great, absolutely. Thank you for that. Is there any other discussion on that, or should we just
Oh, no, I think Cheryl needs to go on the wall too.
plow forward?
I'm assuming that she's gonna meet the criteria.
Well,
If 4 gold medals doesn't, I don't really know what our criteria is.
all right, moving on. Number 9, correspondence. It's letter dated August 19th from Mike Johnson, president of the Castlegar Rebels. Rear banner placed at the Castlegar District Community Complex has been received. I'm quite sure that everybody's had a chance to read the letter. My personal feeling on it is that it absolutely should be done and the banner should stay up. Being acquainted with Nathan's father, I used to work with him occasionally. When we were in trouble, he would come from Nelson to help us out. I think that's an absolutely good thing to do.
Maria was first.
Okay, Maria.
Sure, I would be fine either way. Yeah, I want to be sensitive in how I say this. I agree with you. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. My daughter was friends and kind of in this realm, and so it impacted her pretty deeply. What I've been saddened by is that what happened around his death and how he died has not been addressed nor discussed. And so my only fear is that by celebrating his life without addressing that it didn't have to happen, that we might be amplifying an issue that's really starting to rise up in our teens. It was drinking and driving. And so it was a drinking and driving accident that is well known, but it hasn't been talked about. And that is an issue within the teens. They're talking about the high school. They're talking about in this age range that it is starting to rise again, that there's a lot of drinking and driving with our teens because they think they're invincible. Mm-hmm. And so I don't disagree with celebrating him. I'm just not sure how we make sure that there's a sensitivity around that teens also recognize that we have to really be cautious of what we're doing. Like, this was super tragic and it didn't have to happen. And it's not the first one that's happened in the last couple of years around the same issue. So I'm not against putting something up to celebrate him as a young man. He had a lot to offer him as a great young man and a great hockey player, but I'm just sensitive around that we don't celebrate something without addressing the issue as well somehow. I don't know what we do with that.
I wasn't aware of the circumstances of the accident, not having kids around that age, right? I have no idea.
Sue's next.
I've got Sue, Penny, and then we'll go with you. All right?
I'm gonna sound like a parrot here, but do we have a policy and procedure on this? Like, I think all this stuff that comes, we should have a policy. So, you know, if it meets the criteria, then it happens, right? And You know, I'm not opposed for it going up, but again, like Maria says, you know, there's issues behind that haven't been spoken about, nor do I the details. But we always have to think of optics too, right? So I don't know if there's a policy and procedure, maybe Andy, maybe that was what you're gonna talk about, but
Yes, but
we need this stuff.
I'll let Henny go first and then I'll speak to it.
Actually, if you guys are talking about the same subject, go ahead. If that's okay with the chair.
It's fine with me. The striking is not though.
Separate.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no striking allowed. Thank you. Really, really sad circumstances. And the key thing is that we have dealt with the banner issue before, and I don't want to personalize this in any way, shape, or form. Again, Joe has the corporate memory to how we dealt with another banner issue that appeared to be a very worthy banner suggestion. And so I think we need staff to take a look at what the work we did with the other banner thing, and then be consistent in the way we apply these. And so that's again, my heart goes out to the family, and this is a tragedy that none of us want any family to go through. So, but again, like Sue said, we have dealt with this banner issue before, and we need staff to come back and tell us, guide us how we dealt with that before.
Commissioner Hennegraff, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, there are a couple of things. The letter is coming from the Rebels as a team asking that we honor a player who died tragically. I don't think that is the same as celebrating a person. I think it's honoring a team member who died very tragically. I think that the circumstances of the death should not affect the decision around honoring what the team wants done to recognize one of their players. And so for that reason, I'm in favor of the banner and having it stay.
Did you have something?
Yeah, through the chair. So as we're talking about this, and I pulled up an email from Jim Crockett back and forth between managers from 2021 about this particular, and I did actually find the one about the sport, the memorabilia. But there is some criteria about raising banners, general requirements. The following guidelines, says the following guidelines must be meant to be considered for selection of a banner. Retirement, honor banner nominations must be made on the form. So there's a form that also comes with this, but the letter can stand in for the form. Teams must be for teams who are representing Castlegar District, and an individual being nominated must have been a resident of the Castlegar District for a majority of the development during the period of his or her achievement. But this criteria doesn't speak to memorials, and I think that, you know, at the discretion of the commission, we can always raise a banner, and then if there's further discussion about you know, pulling the banner down at another time, that's another. But we can.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I was not saying I wasn't in support of the banner. That wasn't what my intent is. It's just around the sensitivity. We have to know that there's going to be sensitivity from the public on where it lands, just because of some of that. But I'm not in. I agree that the team needs to mourn, and so does the people who supported them last year and haven't had a chance to. So I'm totally in support of putting a banner up.
Speaking for myself, I knew that what you were saying, like the gist of it, what your intent was.
Yeah, Chair, I'd like to also echo that as well. I just want to make sure that we're doing it and we're not creating a problem or an issue. So I'm thank you, staff, for sharing, what you did, because I know we dealt with this before. And basically, I liked a suggestion that, raise the banner now as an in memoriam thing, and then in terms of permanent, and we'll sort through that and look at the practice and whatever on permanent banners. But absolutely, I'm in favor of raising the banner, and then working through the permanent issue.
Thank you. Commissioner Heath.
I was just gonna say, we have, the recommendation, I agree with.
Yeah.
The second, a new recommendation is for staff to bring back a report about policy and procedures. But how, and then maybe look how Foley's number is up there too. He was, his is up there, he cancer and that, so look how that came to be. I wasn't, I'm not sure, but there's some history there, so I'll move the first motion.
Okay.
I'll second it,
All right.
assuming that it's to put the banner up.
Yes, yeah, well, he read it,
All those in favor?
and then I'd like to make a second motion, if I could,
You
Chair.
can.
To ask staff to look into the policy and procedures of banner raising, for our area.
Do we have a seconder for that?
Sure.
So Chair, could we modify that, amend that, a friendly amendment to the perspective, have staff to come back with respect to raising permanent banners, I think is more what we are.
What was the word?
Yeah.
Permanent.
Oh, permanent, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would think even temporary, Andy.
Yeah, you're right. Temporary or permanent. Yeah, either way,
Yeah.
it'll cover it. I think.
So maybe we just say banners.
Yeah, that's it. No, I get it.
Okay. All those in favor?
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
I didn't get that first motion.
Oh, the first motion is right here.
Banner be-
Yeah.
Oh, the motion that's in here, Pearl? Yeah, I just moved that.
That's the recommendation on.
Oh, I know, what Brian had said.
We're under correspondence.
Correspondence number 9. That
And
was
then the
the,
motion was that a banner be raised.
Yeah, whatever
that
Brian.
they have permission to raise the banner on September 20th as their first meeting.
Yeah, when Brian read that.
In honor of Nate.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. I apologize for my phone going off. Forgot to turn it off.
Call for the point of order, Chair. Call for the vote on the second one. You didn't call for the.
I think we did.
It could be a direction to staff.
I think,
Doesn't that be a motion necessarily?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll take it as a direction to staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Number 10, action items from previous meetings. And so, Castlegar and District Recreation Center accessibility report was to be brought September 10th. That's back from June 11th. I believe that was in regards to some renovations that were going on in the end zone.
Yeah.
Through the chair, to do the ramp that came up to conversation after the trade show.
Right.
And the fact that the ramp goes kind of in a funny way, and then staff investigated and found that the old ramp existed, but been covered up by the wall that the seniors put up years ago. So there is a ramp that exists, but we've sort of deconstructed it. So that's not the answer to the question, though, but that's where we're at so far.
So it'll be coming back.
We absolutely will be coming back.
Great.
So to add a note of frivolity, why are you blaming the seniors?
Oh, because they're the ones that build the wall.
For every,
It's their
Some of
wall.
us are here.
It's their wall. Good, it's the senior wall.
Yeah,
It's the
okay.
senior dance.
I didn't know they had a wall.
And then number 2 is the inconsistency regarding customers being advised of closures when purchasing passes be placed on an upcoming agenda. That was from August 6th. states it's incomplete, but I do remember a letter that
That Joe sent
that
out?
Joe sent out.
Yeah, correct.
He had that he had checked on that and checked on the direction and things were in place.
That's correct, yeah, through the chair, we left it purposely as incomplete just so that we could address it in this forum, so that, yeah, you're correct, the email was sent.
And I appreciated the quick response on that because it's a sensitive issue with, you know, with people, but if it's being done, that's great, so.
Thanks. I don't remember.
And
Oh, Chair, I just wanted to, something I just want to, Trish, did you check out and confirm what I asked you here a little earlier today on the passing of the gentleman?
No, but I will email you, Andy, because I just wanted to confer with Craig. So
Okay,
can you leave that with me, because I don't think it's appropriate to discuss it in an open meeting.
No.
done deal. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
all right, public time. We have no one in the room. Do we have anybody online?
They were initially, and I sent a message to the person who I thought it was,
Okay.
and they said, oh, it's not me, but I'll send a message to the person I think it is.
So I will not call for questions from the public and members of the media at 4:45 because we don't have any here.
Right.
So the next meeting will be October 1st, 4 p.m. here at the Castlegar District Community and Recreation Complex. I will call for adjournment.
So,
Look at that.
All those in favor?
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job, team. See you later, Andy.
Good discussion.
See you, Andy.
Thanks, Sandy.
Chair, you're awesome. Good job.
You notice the meetings are shorter when Joe's not here?
Good, I can go sell my couch now.
And thank you for that